I woke up to a miracle today. Triggers fade as I find my way. No judgment to lead astray. In this peaceful state I'll stay.
Welcome back. Today we're exploring a really profound idea about who we are and how we see others. Basically, how recognizing your true self in everyone can fundamentally change your experience.
Yeah, it's about looking at how this one core teaching can help us deal with things like, judgment, fear, all that mental noise.
And we're grounding this in Lesson 266 today. It gives us this perspective shift on everyone we meet.
It really does. It suggests our divine nature, our holy self, is actually reflected back to us by every single person. Let me read the core idea here.
Yeah.
Lesson 266. My holy self abides in you, God's Son. Father, you gave me all your sons to be my saviors and my counselors in sight, the bearers of your holy voice to me. In them are you reflected, and in them does Christ look back upon me from myself. Let not your Son forget your holy name. Let not your Son forget his holy source. Let not your Son forget his name is yours. This day we enter into paradise, calling upon God's name and on our own, acknowledging ourselves in each of us, united in the holy love of God. How many saviors God has given us. How can we lose the way to him when he has filled the world with those who point to him and given us the sight to look on them?
That's quite a statement. Every single person is a counselor, a savior. I remember when we first encountered this idea of holy siblinghood, it felt a bit abstract, almost like homework. But now it's starting to feel more like a relief, actually.
It is a huge relief.
Yeah.
Think about how much mental energy we spend day in and day out just slotting people into categories.
Oh, constantly. Is this person safe, unsafe, friend, foe? Are they like me? Are they different?
Exactly. That constant scanning and sorting, we're building these mental lists, these bins for everyone.
And that takes up an incredible amount of mental real estate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're using up our focus, maintaining this complex system of who's in and who's out.
And the price we pay for that separation seems to be our own peace. So that's the core insight here. All that energy we spend sizing people up, it could be going towards something else entirely, towards, holy thought. When you let go of the need to judge, your mind just clears up.
It's useful to notice how often we do it, that mental tagging, even unconsciously.
Oh, he's too loud. She's always late. That person seems aggressive. It happens so fast.
I catch myself doing it in the checkout line at the grocery store, just automatically reducing someone to a fleeting behavior instead of remembering what's underneath.
Mm-hmm. And it's precisely that kind of momentary tagging, that judgment, that keeps what the lesson calls paradise seemingly out of reach.
Right. The lesson says, this day we enter into paradise. It frames paradise not as some far-off reward, but as a state of mind that's available right now. A healed perception.
Which really turns the whole idea of suffering on its head, doesn't it? If paradise is accessible just by shifting how we see things now.
Then the whole narrative of endures misery now to earn heaven later starts to look a bit strange.
Like a bizarre detour, yeah. Why postpone peace? Why choose suffering if a different perception offers release in this very moment?
This actually reminds me of that classic critique from Karl Marx about religion being the opiate of the people.
Right, the idea that it makes people passively accept bad situations because they're promised something better after death.
But this teaching seems to argue against that passivity.
Completely. It's not saying just endure it. It's saying wake up now. See that the misery itself isn't ultimately real. It's part of a dream we're choosing.
So recognizing our shared holiness isn't passive acceptance of injustice. It's more like dissolving the foundation that lets injustice seem inevitable in the first place.
Exactly. It's an active internal shift that ideally leads to more inspired, effective action in the world because you're coming from a place of clarity, not reaction or fear.
Okay, so speaking of fear,
We should probably touch on some of these timely fear-based rumors circulating.
yes, definitely. We're seeing reports about a specific rumor coming out of South Africa from a pastor about the rapture supposedly happening around September 23rd to the 25th.
And it's causing real anxiety. People are apparently making big life changes like quitting jobs based on this fear.
It's a fascinating example of how the ego operates, isn't it? Setting a specific date for salvation or doom. From the Course's viewpoint, this kind of rumor is pure ego. It depends entirely on fear, on separation, the idea some get saved, others don't, and crucially, on time.
The ego thrives on drama, scarcity, and deadlines. The second you pin salvation to a specific future date, you deny the power that's available right here, right now.
Yeah.
The Course is so clear. Salvation, awareness, peace, they're available in every single moment. We don't need some external event to trigger it. Our own minds can, you could say, rapture themselves into awareness through choosing love and forgiveness now.
Okay, so let's get practical. If you have friends or family caught up in panic about something like this, siblings deep in fear about this specific timeline, how do you respond? Ridiculing them clearly isn't helpful.
No, absolutely not. The key is to anchor ourselves in the truth first. Then respond gently, usually only if asked directly. The message isn't complicated, it's simple reassurance. Something like, nothing happening out there can actually threaten your mind's peace.
So you're offering an invitation back to sanity, back to their own internal strength.
You're extending peace and grounding. You're not getting drawn into debating dates or theology.
You stay anchored yourself. You keep seeing their underlying holiness even in their fear. And you only step in if needed for, say, physical safety or basic well-being. But you let the fearful story itself pass by without feeding it energy.
That's the most helpful, practical response.
This brings up a really important distinction, though. Recognizing the holy self versus just, trying to practice positive thinking. How are those different? What's the mechanism?
I think the core difference lies in permanence versus effort. Positive thinking is often temporary, right? It frequently relies on putting in a lot of effort to change how you feel about something external, or trying to force a positive spin.
Like, okay, they were rude, but I'm going to think nice thoughts about them.
Exactly. Or your perception shifts only because they suddenly smiled at you or they agreed with you about something. That's working at the level of form, which is always changing.
But the holy self, that's constant. It's what they fundamentally are underneath the behavior, the mistakes, the disagreements. It's untouched.
Right. And recognizing that isn't about effortful positive thinking. It's about receptivity. It's about being willing to see the unchangeable truth that's already there beneath the surface noise. It doesn't depend on their actions.
That makes sense. The recognition is constant because the self is constant.
That's the key.
Okay, so test case number 2 then. What happens when that holy self seems completely hidden? When someone is behaving really poorly, maybe lashing out, making big mistakes, or even when someone is actively engaged in emotional or physical abuse, how do you hold on to that recognition then?
Well, the ego just loves using bad behavior as proof, doesn't it? Proof of unworthiness, proof that holiness isn't there or that it's vanished. But the teaching here is absolute. The divine self remains completely untouched, even if the ego is running the show for a moment, whether it's our ego or someone else's. We've all just temporarily forgotten who we truly are in those moments.
And recognizing that is what makes everyone our savior, because even the person whose actions trigger us the most is actually giving us a chance to practice seeing that unchangeable innocence. And this is the big question listeners often have. If I genuinely see the Christ in someone, doesn't setting a firm boundary or maybe even walking away from an abusive situation feel like I'm judging them? Like I'm punishing them for their behavior, contradicting that recognition of holiness.
That is such a vital distinction to make. It's about content versus form. The Course is very clear. Recognizing someone's inherent holiness does not mean you become a doormat. It doesn't require martyrdom or accepting abuse. Sometimes setting very firm boundaries, getting yourself to safety, ending a destructive relationship, even seeking outside help like counselors or the courts is actually the most loving thing you can do for both people involved.
How so? How is it loving for both?
Because you're protecting yourself, which is essential. And simultaneously, you're removing the target for their ego's attacks. You're refusing to play the ego's game.
Right. You're taking away the validation the ego gets from the conflict.
Exactly. You are not responsible for fixing them or managing their destructive patterns. Your peace and safety have to come first. The action of setting the boundary, even if it seems harsh in form, like involving authorities, doesn't have to be a judgment of their true, perfect inner self.
So the aim is to keep that internal recognition of their innocence steady while taking whatever practical steps are necessary in the world of form for your own safety and protection.
Yes, that clarity shifts your whole inner orientation. Your actions stop being driven by anger or revenge or fear. They become extensions of love, rooted in clarity and self-preservation. You simply refuse to participate in a dynamic that serves no one's awakening.
It's a huge sense of freedom, isn't it? Flowing from just recognizing that the Holy Self is in everyone. Every single person is a potential savior, just inviting us to remember who we are.
And realizing that paradise isn't scheduled for later. It's available the instant we stop pouring all that draining mental energy into judging and categorizing others. Joy is right here. Right now.
So maybe a challenge for this week. Something provocative for you, the listener, to consider. Try applying this recognition not just to an easy person, a smiling stranger, or a good friend, but specifically to the person whose behavior is causing you the most frustration right now, the one you most want to change, or maybe even punish.
That's a powerful practice.
Can you quietly acknowledge their perfect, untouched innocence while still maintaining whatever boundaries are needed for your own perfect safety and peace?
That's the practice ground. That's where perception truly begins to shift. Thank you for exploring this with us today. It's profound territory.
It really is. We look forward to our next time together. Take care.